Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show Beyond Borders. And today is our Women's Day special episode. And I have got privilege to get a very special person, or I would say a woman who did outstanding work in her area and in the politics as well. So let's welcome Dr. Laksmi Samracoo. Hello, Dr. Lakshmi. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for giving us the privilege to have you as a guest on the special day of Women's International Women's Day.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Honor.
so when we are moving forward, I want to know some glimpse of your journey where you can tell, like, as being an Indian American, and we all know that we Indian focus a lot on the studies, like we like focus on your studies first and then see the other things. So, how was that experience for you, like for being a child who shifted from India to US and rest all? I want to hear it from you.
Sure. So I was born in India. At that time, Andhra Pradesh was just one state, not Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. And then I came here when I was 6, and so did most of my schooling here in the U.S. And as you said, education is such a big part of our culture and our traditions and our family. And it was always stressed for me in my family. And, if you came home with less than straight A's, there would be a long discussion and interrogation about what happened. Why didn't you get the straight A's? What happened? And I think that was a little worse for my brother than me because I tended to apply myself a little bit more than he did, especially when we were young. So, and it was always stressed. And, what were you going to be? Were you going to be a doctor or an engineer? And do you have a choice? And I think a lot of Indian kids nowadays, I'm not sure they feel like they had a choice, but I think the younger ones now feel like they have more choices. And they've seen so many Indians become successful in so many different fields. And you don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be an engineer to be a success. And we've had so many business successes. But um, I wanted to be a doctor since I was really little. And I can't remember a day when I didn't want to be a doctor. So for me, it was a little bit different. I did go through a little rebellious time in undergrad when I was rebelling against my parents, and I told them I was going to be an engineer instead. And I didn't tell them that I had applied to medical school until the night before my interview. And then I came home and I said, I need a suit. They said, why do you need a suit? I said, well, I have an interview tomorrow. What, for a job? And I said, no, for med school. And there was a, what? Wait a minute. When did you apply to medical school? And there was all this. So, um, but that was ancient history. And then I chose radiology as a specialty because I did actually do engineering in undergrad. And radiology is very tech oriented and, very computer oriented, but um, so it appealed to that STEM side of me that I really liked in the physics. So I chose radiology and enjoyed it, and still do enjoy it. But in 2012, there was a mentor. We had when I moved to Cincinnati, there were only about 40 families in Cincinnati. Now there are thousands.
Oh, yeah.
40 Indian families then. And one of those families, one of my uncles, all our uncles and aunties, and one of my uncles was um, a physician here also. But for him, politics and being a part of it was such an important thing. And he would sit us all youngsters down and tell us that we had a duty. We should participate. That Indians should have a voice in the community because we do so many other things, but we don't actively participate in the political side. And of course, as kids, in one ear and out the other, right? Nobody's like, who has time for that, uncle? I have this exam coming up. I have that exam coming up. I can't talk about this right now. And I'm barely keeping my head afloat and everything. But that uncle at age 71 did get appointed as coroner, actually. before me, and so he was in the office. He was going to run for election, and then he passed away suddenly. And I was asked by a mutual friend if I would step in because they needed somebody who had a practice somewhat portable, doing teleradiology at home. Allowed, I didn't have any patients I had to cancel or procedures I had to cancel. So I could step in, and I said I would do it temporarily until they found somebody else, because it was coming up to a primary and they needed to have a name on the ballot. And I said, okay, well, I'll hold the place card for you until you find somebody else. And then within a few months, they came back to me and said, well, what do you think about you staying in the role? And I said, in politics, I hate politics. I don't want to be in politics. And they, convinced me. And actually, yesterday was my 12th anniversary in this position. So 12 years and three elections, and I'm coming up on my fourth election this year.
Wow, many congratulations
Thank,
on the anniversary.
thank you.
I wish you many more on the stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So it's a quite exciting journey. Like, I agree to the fact that you did all things, but being in the political life is also important when we are representing a whole country, or I would say a community as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, you know, um, especially in the Midwest, but also in the smaller rural areas, they don't have as much exposure to the Indian culture and Indian people. And I think for us, and for me in this role, when I go to galas and events and everything, I'm always in a sari, a langa, or a salwar, something that's first of all, it's really easy to wear Indian clothes everywhere because they're so beautiful. They're all coordinated. You don't have to worry about what top, what bottom, or anything, and it's super easy. And they're very unique, and I love wearing Indian clothes everywhere I go when I go to these fancy events. And there have been times when I have been at some event and I get called out on some scene and I'm in my fancy Indian clothes, and I go to the scene, and sometimes the homicide detectives look at me like this, like, you're a little fancy today, aren't we, doc? and but I'm happy to represent our community, our traditions, our religion. And we my office gets Diwali off, and everybody is off on Diwali. We close the office for Diwali because it's important for my people love celebrating. So we have holy celebrations in my office. They all love getting all messed up with all the colors and everything. So we try and incorporate some of that. I think that the mix of cultures is really good for them also, and being exposed to that. So I've been really happy to be able to expand their minds around here.
Definitely. And I really love the concept you are saying about that we should incorporate the culture with all the communities so we get to know each other better, that how we think, what are the roots we are, or how we are trying to incorporate everyone around.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think if you don't do that and you don't help people understand who you are and your culture, there's always going to be a little bit of us versus them. And I think that if they understand, and even the most rural areas where they've had no exposure, there's always something that they can find in common, something that they can appreciate about each other's cultures.
definitely. So while you are going and witnessing your whole journey through doctor, now you are in office and you are giving the holidays for, or you are celebrating the Indian holidays. How do you see, or how do you witness the gender equality there? Like, as the today's topic about the Women's Day, I want to ask you how, and the fair answer can help many of us.
Well, I will tell you, in my office, first of all, I think I'm the first woman coroner, and I know I'm the first woman coroner in this town. It's also a law enforcement position. So in Ohio, the coroner usually is the highest ranking law enforcement person in the county. Um, and so we have to work with a lot of police chiefs and the federal agencies and everything, and most of them are men. There are a few women, but it's interesting because initially there was this little bit of testing, testing to see, does she have what it takes? And I know that. I mean, but that happened in undergrad. It happened in engineering. It happened in medical school. It happens. I think for women, we have to outperform simply because we're women, and we can. I mean, that's the thing, is that I there's no doubt in my mind that we can do it better. Not that they can't, but I'm just saying that I think we have the capability given the opportunity. And in my office, actually, we have more women than men now, and they are scientific. It's a scientific office. So it used to be in my firearms section, there were all four men. Now we have two men and four women. And in my DNA section, again, two men and five women. And toxicology, it's six women and one man. And in my drug section, let's see, we have five women and one man. And it's not because we specifically were looking to make it that way, but we looked at the qualified candidates. And overwhelmingly, in the resumes that we had, they were women. And so my administrator is a woman in my office. My crime lab director is a man, but most of my managers are women. And it's just, it goes to show you where we've come in 20, 30 years. And, in the medical schools, when I went to medical school, it was 16% women. And I know in the last almost decade here in Cincinnati, anyway, it's been almost 50-50, if not a little bit more women than men.
Quite interesting ratio in your office with that.
Yeah.
But in general, I was having the question as well, like when you are moving around seeing many organizations and working with them, so that's what's your take on that how gender equality is important? It's even I'm not saying that in a favor that any office should have all women. No, it's not like that. But how do you feel that it is going in this 2024 we are now? How this surrounding or how this current time is giving the right, like I would say, the right scenario for the.
Well, I think for women now, we have a um, better set of circumstances and opportunities. And I think more people are looking for gender equality. And, in my office, it's the other way. We're actually actively looking to hire men that are qualified for these roles. Um, so I think that things have changed, although I was on a panel this afternoon with a woman who's a money manager, and she was saying that things have changed and things have not changed. She believes that at her level, she is getting an equivalent salary to somebody else at her level. However, the people that are coming into the money management world, not so much. And she really feels like still women are getting paid less for doing an equivalent or a higher quality work. So we make some progress, and we still have some work to do. But I think that it will never be just merit alone, not in anything. It'll always be about, are you a man or woman? Are you dark? Are you light? Are you this ethnicity, that ethnicity, or this religion or that religion? There will always be something that people will look for, um, to discriminate. And it may be overtly and it may be covertly, but realistically speaking, we're all human and we all have some biases, no matter how much we struggle against them.
I totally agree with all the facts, with, like you were saying. So, in all that, like I understood your concept and with your office and your whole idea, in your personal life, when you are a doctor and a politician handling a office, how as a woman, how you are fulfilling your responsibility? Because we know whatever we do, we have a home.
Yeah.
So
That is absolutely true. Yes, I think we still do the bulk of the work in the house. And I'm fortunate that I have a husband who likes to cook. So at least on the weekends, he will cook. And when we have dinner parties, he loves to try out his chef skills. So I'm okay with doing the cleanup and the prep in advance and so forth. But I think the day to day stuff, it was really fell mostly on me, and it probably still does. Who's handling the finance, who's paying the bills? Yeah, that's all me. In addition to doing the regular stuff, and I think that women are um, we're just we're just capable of multitasking. And I think we're capable of rising to that. I don't think anybody even really sits there and thinks, oh my God, I'm doing all this. I think they just do it. I mean, I think they just do it because it needs to be done. And everybody in whatever roles. I think some relationships may be a little bit more balanced, other relationships may not. Um, but it's always good to push back a little when you're feeling overwhelmed. I have grown children now, but every once in a while, and they come home and then the house is a mess. And then I say, what did I do? I thought I raised you properly, but this place is a mess. You didn't make your bed. There's dirty clothes on the floor. And, the mom comes out.
Yeah. Yes, it's so. I think this is the thing with the kids. Whenever they see mom, they don't want to do anything.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because my mom is even more traditional, an Indian mother. And she's always like, well, when my kids come home, my son came home last weekend and she's like, well, you're at work all day. Well, what is he eating? I'm like, Mom, he's 21 years old. I think he can figure out what to eat. Oh no, the poor kid, you left him at home with no food and he's probably starving. Oh, that's terrible. I said, we have eggs and other things. He can make himself something. And she was just, shocked. It's a traditional, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
mother has to make everything, make all the food. And then she said, oh, I'm just going to have them over to my house for dinner. That's fine. You take them over there for dinner.
I think that's the generational difference,
Yeah.
like seeing our moms and this generation and the coming generation. There is a lot of like history. I would say it's a kind of mindset is changing,
Yeah.
especially with the women empowerment and all the things we are seeing around.
Well,
So
there are more women out working, even in India, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like our mother's generation, where very few people would work out of the house, and now I think most women have some sort of jobs and careers and college educations and so forth, and so they're doing it all. They're taking care of the home and the gardens and the kids and everything else. I mean, and here I had my mom to help me, but it was hard when they were really little to make sure that they went to their activities and their school things. And I was fortunate to have my parents nearby, but for families, yeah, it's very hard.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I totally like get it the point that when the kids are young and we don't have much, when we have a lot to do, it's really hard because everyone is working. Like both
Yeah,
parents are working, so it
yeah.
is not easy to fulfill all the duties. And still, you did. So congratulations on that
Well,
part.
I had a lot of help, believe me. Could not have done it without them.
Oh, that's a great. I mean, I would say you were lucky in that part that
Very
you
fortunate. Very fortunate.
yeah. So, like when we are talking, the International Women's Day is all about uplifting women and support women and that fix each other's crown. In that part of life, when we are doing this, how do you feel the role of mentorship and like giving the networks or supporting women, especially in your field? How important is the mentorship?
I think it's very important. And I have, some of the special agents in charge of the federal agencies like um, the Secret Service and FBI here in Cincinnati have been women. And, we see each other. We're in these roles where traditionally male roles, and they've been great friends, very supportive. We've enjoyed friendships. In fact, one of them just retired from the FBI as assistant director, and we still stay friends even though she lives in South Carolina. And when we're asked to mentor other women, and we try and share that. Today I spoke at a middle school, and we were talking to these girls about how to be assertive and how it's okay to voice your opinion. And why are you being called bossy? What does that mean? And how to be comfortable taking a leading role.
Okay. So you support and you promote uh, to be like to be sound like what you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that um, if you don't say it, if you aren't looking after yourself and your goals and what you want to do, then how do you expect anybody to support you getting there? But absolutely, mentors and advisors and people that my uncles and aunties that before me, and my professors and my friends and teachers, and that have experienced other things that I can go to and say, I really need some help with this. How do I go about this? I had a friend who helped me with the first election and taking this role. And it was tremendous. I mean, the experience that she had, and the amount of support she provided me.
Okay. That's really great that you have got the people who were supporting you all the way and giving you guidance to move forward. But did in the process, like, I see you are saying all the good part, or you are saying the support about that, but it is it there, it like any kind of challenges or difficulties you have faced and you came out of those? What's your experience
I
you want
mean,
to share?
I don't think you go through life without finding those. I think that I was the first Indian kid to graduate from my high school. And it was really hard being in the middle of a white bread high school, being different, being Hindu, and wearing your hair differently and clothing differently and whatnot. So that started it. And then you have to, and I struggled with that as a kid because I wanted to fit in with everybody else, like every other teenager. And I don't think it was really until I was about 28 years old that I felt comfortable in my skin, honestly, because I just didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I mean, I didn't fit in the African American community, I didn't fit in the white community, and where was the in between? And it wasn't until we got to be adults and I, moved. I lived in Pittsburgh for a little bit, in Cleveland, and then I moved to LA. And I think that experience out west was really good for me, coming from the Midwest, because here it was so conservative and so limited on exposure. And out there, they were already used to so many different cultures, and they embraced the differences in cultures. And I think I came out of that a very confident person, very comfortable in my own skin, to be able to come back here uh, to Cincinnati, to the Midwest, and say, yeah, I'm wearing what I'm wearing because this is me. And I will go to the grocery store like this if I want to. You can all stare if you want to. But, this is who I am. You'll have to learn to deal with it. And I think you get that as you get older. You get that as you live and have more life experiences. But you also get that when you finally are comfortable with who you are and in this society. And I think that is key. And that's what I was talking about with the middle school kids today, the girls. And I said, you have to believe in your own value to be able to show somebody else your value. And whether you're Indian or you're black or you're white or you're Hispanic, it doesn't matter. You have value for what you can do for yourself, your society, your family, your neighborhood. And so, just because you express your opinions and somebody calls you bossy, you don't shrink into the corner.
Yes, yes. I I totally resonate with the sentence, like when you were saying that this is me and you need to learn that it is me.
That's
You
right.
said
What you see is what you get. And this is me. And all aspects of it, good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. But I think that when I first started in this role, I think there was a lot of testing from the different law enforcement people, from the other politicians. I got a lot of pushback from uh, some politicians that were in power at that time who would. I had one of them tell me that I really need to learn my place,
Oh,
and I had another one who there was a guy who sent an email to the other politicians and said something about needing to keep me on the reservation. And like I sent it, I found that, and then I sent them all an email back saying, "Wrong kind of Indian." And I mean, just things like that that I had to deal with, and you can't let that um, define who you are, or make any comments about yourself. You can't take any of that seriously, and because that's them, they have no understanding of who I am, clearly. Because if they had spent any time listening to me or talking to me or seeing me on interviews, they would have learned, but they didn't bother. And so it's not a reflection of me, it's a reflection of them and their ignorance. And it took, I would say it was probably a solid year in the office of just working hard, building relationships, building those networks, and letting people get to know who I am and what I wanted to do for the community and why it was important to finally sort of get that message out there, so that now I've most of the politicians that I know, the ones that don't like me stay away from me, which is okay. um, and the others, we usually have a pretty good relationship. But I don't hold back. That's so some people find that good. Others get a little worried when they are in the same room as I am because they're afraid of what I'm going to say. But, I always say I'm fair, but I'm upfront and I'm not hiding it. And, if you do something bad, I'm going to tell you.
that's the best approach to deal, and that's your this part. Like when you are telling that how you dealt with all the situations, many people gonna follow this, that if I feel so, I gonna say that whatever
Yep.
you feel. If the people is full of room is full of people, but I feel to say my opinion, this is the right place to start.
And, you do it with respect, and you always do it with respect. But yes, definitely voice your opinions and your thoughts, because if they didn't want that, why did they invite you?
Definitely. And if they chose you to be the part of the team, why you should sit down and not to speak and not to present your opinion, that how do you feel and what you want to change.
Yeah, right.
So
So it's been a work in progress, I think, for Indians in politics across this country. There are some parts of the country that are more welcoming than others for that. And I've been asked to run for a lot of different roles, including going to DC. But you see what a mess DC is. And how can one person say, if you run for Congress and there's 400 plus congressmen, and you're the one person trying to reason with these crazy group of 400 plus? I don't feel like I could make much of a difference in that size of, and with that much, frankly, pathology going on there. But and so I felt like, no, I'm going to stay in my little yard here. I'm going to stay here in my community and see what I can do to make it better. And then when I do need some help and whatnot, I do reach out to the congressmen and senators. And I present them with facts, and I present them with the situation. And in general, my requests have been taken seriously, and I've received responses. And, even just 2 weeks ago, we had the drug czar from the White House at my office, because in our community, we have gotten, for the last several years, we've been having overdoses going down. And so he wanted to come and see what we've done here in our community, and, to see if that's something that can be modeled for the rest of the country to try and get the overdose numbers down. So we shared with him. We had a little round table with the U.S. attorney, with the DEA, with some of the people in recovery treatment centers, law enforcement people, our quick response teams that go out to the overdose victims' houses to offer them services. and all of us in the morgue and in the death investigation aspect, how we work together and the partnerships that we made to make that happen, because this is all about not one silo working, but all of us working what are wherever our talents are toward making that happen.
Truly, truly a great effort and trying to improve the society from where you are. It's like it's being said that changes start from where you are.
Absolutely. And I think that, I'm a little worried about where India is going right now. I'm seeing the beginnings of what we saw 15 years ago here, 12, 15 years ago. And it worries me because I think it's so much harder in with that size of a population to try and get a handle on, these drugs, especially these really dangerous opioids. And they're being manufactured now. They're getting raw materials from all over the place, China included. And they have labs in India that are manufacturing these drugs. And now there's so much more demand in India for recreational drugs. um, and it's something that nobody ever wants to talk about, but if you don't talk about it, you can't deal with it.
And unfortunately, that's very true. Like that's how it's increasing in India, the current usage, and we see and go see the data that it's alarming.
It
If
is.
if
It really is.
if we are not going to take the actions and the current measures, the situation gonna be bad with this huge population we have there.
Absolutely. The other thing too is, along with those drugs comes violent crime,
Yeah.
and the enlarging gangs and the territorial battles, and the innocent people that get hurt in between. So, um, I mean, India has a chance to really nip it in the bud right now, and I think they need to start putting some coalitions together and working on, yeah, wiping it out at this early stage before it will spread like wildfire. It will. It did here, and it will even more in India. So, I mean, I think that they really have to make some strong efforts, because there also isn't enough of a treatment infrastructure there to treat people. So the better hit the prevention aspect of it hard now, so that you don't need to spend as much money on treatment.
Yes, yes, totally the right approach to deal with this. That work on the like prevention part, so you don't have to work on the cure, so that later the disease can harm you
Yeah,
more.
some statistics in the US that say that for every dollar that you spend on prevention, you save between 12 and $15 on treatment.
Yes, yes. So, like when we are here and talking about India as a global platform, in your opinion, how do you see the part of the women or the women empowerment or the support? How we can improve, or what are the other facts we can help to the society as a whole global platform to improve the women's position and their uh, like their status in the society?
I think the the sad part about being a woman in India is, um, there are some men who don't respect that you're a worthwhile human being, and that you can contribute, and you can be successful. And I don't know if it's a way in the way that they grew up, or a cultural thing in the communities where they grew up. But I think that we really need to have a big push on educating everybody about respecting women. And I think that starts when they're small. It starts when they're little boys and little girls, and understanding that respect has to start there, so that when women and when they become adults, the respect comes naturally, and it doesn't have to be learned.
Yes, so that like charity begins at home. So the respect and the cult, like though we the as a tradition in India, it's like we worship. goddesses, we worship Devi. So there's a that's a, I would say, a thing which inside the core, that we worship the women power.
Yeah.
But suddenly, or we say globally, or many things are coming around which are changing the perspective, though people are still in India, like women are doing so many wonderful things, but I still agree to the fact that there are some hindrances which are pulling them back.
Yes, and I don't know a solution to that, but I think that um it's a problem here as well. Objectifying women is a problem, and I think that that may be getting worse in Bollywood in India. But I think that in certain families, like in our families, I know the girls are treated better. I think. I mean,
Oh yeah, it is. It is, and this is not only it's not only about India. It's globally. It's
yeah.
like all surrounding all the countries, that we are like just looking for the thing. Like that was your expert opinion. I was trying to find out. That's worldwide, globally. What's your opinion? We can do about the women empowerment.
Well, and that's the thing is that it's a cultural thing. It's what you see on TV, what you see in the movies, what you see propagated. I mean, even the Arab world is changing to some degree. But I think that the respect aspect of it, you know, these we are taught to respect the Davies. That's true, but we don't. But that doesn't translate to the human woman, and we have to find a way to educate and bridge that gap so that from when they're little girls, that they're treated with respect. And but that's across the world. That's, I
Yeah,
mean, change in the 50s, it was so different how women were treated in this country versus the way they're treated now.
yeah. Maybe the many other factors, like how people came into the country, they invaded, some other cultures mingled, and then there are other things. So let's let's just not focus on that.
Well, no, what I'm saying though is I think India's got, it's an ancient culture, and
Yeah,
it has so many aspects of respectful things about women. And I think the vast majority of the population respect women and what women mean to the country. There are a few that need to be educated, and that is in every country. I mean, this is no different in this country. They may say the right things, but they think differently.
yeah. They may project the thing that they believe in that, but basically they are not supporting the act. So we might need to educate to the people to the core, that these are the values start from home and that spread everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Start with our kids.
Yeah, yeah, I totally go with the idea like you are giving. So so when we, like in the celebration of the Women's Day, what advice you want to give to the women around, who wants to be like you, who feels you as a role model, or want to walk on your footstep as a medical doctor or as a coroner, or want to be like you? What advice you want to give to the people?
I think everybody is unique in their own way and has so much value for what they have talents wise. I think that trying to be like another person, be yourself and recognize what you have to offer the community, what you have to offer women, what you have to offer society out there, and do that. One of the things that I would say is I think that it's hard to take risks, especially in a career. I mean, I was neuroradiologist, and after all those years of training, 11 years after college, and to step back and say I'm going to do something different, it was definitely out of my comfort zone. And but I think that if you take the risks, I think that if you um, recognize something, keep your mind open to the possibilities, I think there's a lot that you'll find that you never would have thought to do. I never would. First of all, I hated politics growing up. I hated politics in medical school and all of it. I didn't want to have anything to do with politics. And here I am in the midst of it. Now, I still hate politics in this role, but I try and navigate it as well as I can because it's necessary to what we're doing. And I would say for women in our community that are looking to take a political role or to take a lead in their company or to launch a medical career, go for it. Go for it and know that you have all these other women, me and everybody else here to help you, push you, support you, get you where you need to go. All you have to do is ask. We will connect you to somebody that will have the answers.
Yes, see, that's how we get the expert opinion and the support from the women who already did a wonderful things in her life. So I am really thankful to you for coming and accepting our invitation for today's special episode. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge and wisdom with all of us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you. Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day. Take care.
Yeah.